Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 179. We are at PCA's national office, and at the table we have a very special guest in which I will introduce in a second. Manny Albans to my right and Damon's to my left. I want to make sure we thank our presenting sponsor, Pirelli, where they're making tires to achieve the highest levels of performance, safety, noiselessness, and grip on the road surface. Innovative tires that can satisfy even the most specific mobility needs of the end consumer. And I want to thank you all, those that are listening, especially if you aren't a current PCA member and you own a Porsche. We'd love to have you join us. Just grab your VIN, head over to pca.org and make yourself a member. And if you're looking for a Porsche for your driveway or garage, check out the PCA test drive program, where we'll unlock resources for you to find that special Porsche.
You know, I had to look up noiselessness.
You know where that comes from, right?
Well, I was typing it up and I'm like, is that a word? So I went to Google and I'm like, oh,
it's a word.
It's a word.
It's a word. It's a word. And it's
noiselessness.
Specifically important for luxury cars and EV now, right? So to my left, this gentleman, I'm going to call it, you all are very lucky today to join us with this, a member spotlight. I just love it when I get to see him at our local Cars and Coffee, especially when he rolls in with his Speedster, top down, and it's like 32 degrees out. Like, he's the real deal, and he's been the real deal as a PCA member for, I hope it's okay, over 52 years?
That's correct.
52 years. So Chip Reichhart, welcome to PCA Insider. It's great to have you. And I can't believe it's taken us this long to have you on board here.
We had him on Tech Tactics Live when we did the 996 GT3 with Irish guy.
That's
we
right.
did it at Bob Miller's shop.
Wow. All right. So let's rewind. 52 years. There's a lot to unpack here. Start with how you got into Porsches.
Oh, well. Through my college days, I was more of a hot rod type guy. I had an early Z28, which was kind of an unusual car. It was one of the first ones out, which was the same as your GT3 today. It was a race car for the street. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Chevrolet knew how many they were going to sell, so they didn't make a whole lot initially. And so everybody got to know them as Z28s. But back when I had mine, we just called them 302s because that's what was in them.
Yeah.
And if you went to a dealer back then, which I remember going to one and asking about a 302, they said, we don't make a 302. And I said, check your parts thing and look for Z28 option.
Yeah.
Anyway, had that through college. And then for some reason, I remember I was at University of Maryland. I was a 356 there, sitting there, in fact, just like this red one here. And I walked over and said, my wife later said, get a picture of me.
Oh.
So this was back in, I don't know, 1969, 70, somewhere in there. So fast forward, I got out of college, and I was looking for something a little bit more practical, which the Porsche kind of fit the bill. So my first one actually was a 914.
The 914 was the practical choice?
Yes.
Wow.
Back then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, two trunks.
Yeah, two trunks. Yeah. Drove it to Florida right after we got married. And, 35 miles to the gallon, whatever. It was great.
Yeah.
But the 356 has kind of stuck with me. So I guess it was maybe 1972 I bought my first one, which was a cab, pretty rough, and learned a lot from that one. And ultimately evolved a few years later. Then I got involved with PCA within about a year. Really, back in the day, I think the membership of the Chesapeake region was probably about 70 members. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of being in it, I mean, it was all 356s, obviously very early 911s. Mm-hmm. So to join the club and get to know people like Ab Tiedemann, Bud Curry, Heinz Bada.
Oh, the who's who of Chesapeake, yeah.
And really, I got into it because I was kind of hands-on, and I felt that I needed as much technical support as possible, and you really didn't have very other than Ralph's. I don't know of another Porsche shop back in the day. And Ralph was another one who was in fact, we went to high school together.
Is that right?
Yeah, Ralph taught me how to build my first 356 engine. So anyway.
Well, that's why this club exist because initially there weren't a lot of resources out there, and it was individuals coming together to help each other figure out how to maintain and own these cars.
Yeah.
Now, did you not join PCA when you owned the 914? You waited until the 356?
No, I think I still had the 914 then.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And so, moved forward a couple years, I got into the autocrossing. That was my favorite part of the activities.
Mm-hmm.
My cab was a little rough and kind of marginally qualifying as far as tech inspection. So,
Wait, what year was your cab?
it was 60 or 61.
60, 61.
It was rough.
And you bought it when?
72.
72. So it's a 12, 13-year-old car. So back in the day, a car that's 10 to 15 years old, let's say, can go from very nice to very, rough. Like, cars today, 10 to 15 years, that's kind of, I have 10 to 15-year-old cars, and they're not rough.
Probably the rust was the issue.
Yeah. The whole thing back then is, the way they prepared the cars, the sheet metal, when you take a look from 76 on, a lot of it was galvanized from the rockers down, and then they started galvanizing pretty much the whole car. And that was a big game changer as far as the rust was concerned. But early on, they put them together. Porsche probably never figured these cars would be driven more than 3 or 4 years.
20 years,
anyway.
that's what they thought. 20 years if they lasted, they were successful.
So even back when I started looking seriously in 72, 73, most 356s were pretty rough.
Wow.
So when you see, in fact, I actually, after I bought the Speedster, I bought 2 356s, 2 64s. One was an SC coupe, the other C coupe. They were so rough that I just dismantled them, parted them out.
They weren't worth rebuilding then.
Let me put it this way. I see stuff on Bring a Trailer. They would have been gems compared to some of the things that are being sold today.
Really? Wow.
But now the cars have become so valuable, to buy something like that and put $150,000 into it, you probably should get your money back.
And back then, when you were buying these cars, were you obsessed with numbers matching and stuff like that?
Not a bit.
Yeah.
And in fact, we were talking about my my 69S, which I had a number of different engines, and Manny said, that's the one you flared the fenders. Well, 40 years ago, it was a used car. I take it to a club event. They say, you flared the fenders on a 69S? Like it was a sacrilege.
Is that car the red one that we have pictures of?
No, that's the 67S on
Okay,
Vintage
that's
Racing.
a 67. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was a fun car to have, and you were doing what
Still
you want
have
with
it.
it, right? Yeah.
Still have it. It still is a great car.
No. And did you ever think that these cars would come to sort of the price levels that they've reached today?
No. I remember probably about 25 years ago, and Ralph Simmers actually called me and said they were Chesapeake Challenge. They were doing a Concours. It was raining that day. They had it at the house in Sheridan. And he said, stop up here. There's a Speedster somebody just paid over $100,000 for. I said, you got to be kidding me. I've got one of those. And I don't think it's worth $100. But so, yes, the prices have just continued to evolve. And you take a model like my Speedster was a retired race car. And I bought that purely just to autocross it. Mm-hmm. And the neat thing about it is it didn't have a windshield, it didn't have bumpers, it didn't have interior, it didn't have anything.
Wow.
And I had an engine, which I put in, and so I paid $1,500 for the car.
Wow.
And
dreams.
But I had to go and buy a windshield and frame from Stoddard, and that cost me $500. So one third of
the price of the car
just for a windshield.
A windshield. Wow.
So I could drive it on the street.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, is that Speedster the one we have pictures of?
Yes.
That is. I'm going to put them up on screen then.
And how did you find these cars back in the day?
Well, that car, as I mentioned, one name before, Bud Curry. He had 3 Speedsters at the time, 2 of them, and all 3 of them were race cars. I take that back. 2 were race cars. One was severely damaged. And he had just picked up a Carrera Speedster, and then this became available. And so he said something to me, and I said, I'll buy it. and I knew I had an engine for it. I knew I could, and it had Carrera brakes. It had it did have 2 seats in it that were pretty ratty. Those aren't the seats.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I, got it running, went through the whole thing, brakes, etc., and started autocrossing the car, and it was extremely competitive. And one other story about it, I was at Summit Point a couple of years ago because I couldn't do the club race that weekend, but I drove out just to see everybody. And I took the car out, and we actually weighed it at Summit Point.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled up, to the weigh station, which I've done before with the 67, and I said, "Can you weigh it?" And he said, "Sure." So I go to pull, and he said, "Well, I'm not sure we can. It's too short. We'll have to weigh the front end and back end and just add them together." So, because, obviously nobody's racing 356s anymore, at least not at those. But anyway, so they weighed it, and it was around 1950 with me in it.
Wow.
So you take me out, it's down to 1750, and I got home and took everything out of the front trunk, the 4 or 5 quarts of oil you want to carry, because just in case.
Yeah.
And I removed about 50 pounds worth of stuff that was in the trunk between spare, tools, etc. And I figured by the time you take the bumpers and top off, when I was autocrossing that car, it was probably under 1,600 pounds, with a 100 horsepower engine. So, it was quick.
Yeah.
That Speedster was the one that led me to write that pretty popular article that's been shared on the internet about how to tell a 356 a real one from a replica.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were just talking about this a little while ago, that some guy posted a picture of Chip's Speedster from Cars and Coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and said, "This is a really nice replica."
Oh.
And I commented, I said, "Oh, I know the owner. It's not a replica." He goes, No. He goes, I know these cars. This is definitely a replica.
No, he didn't.
And I'm like, no, you don't know the cars.
Oh my God.
I said, I'm going to write how to tell the real ones from the fake ones. And, but yeah, it was an inside joke.
Do you get that question a lot?
Oh, yeah, get it all the time,
All the
because
time.
nobody believes you're going to be driving a real one. So.
Right.
But no, in fact, I just did something this year because the car, being a race car, it didn't have much on it, and I never had turn signals. So I bought the little switch and the stalk,
Mm-hmm.
and I had it sitting on my bench for probably the last 30 years. And recently, and I don't drive the car much during the week because I'm just afraid, people don't know what hand signals are.
Right. All right.
So that's how I was, signaling what I was going to do. And then, I'd get a signal back from them, which wasn't the nicest gesture.
They're going straight to the...
Yeah, because
the one finger signal.
Yeah, because they didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I just put turn signals on it. So now it has, for the first time in the almost 50 years I've owned it, I feel a little bit more comfortable.
Have you considered? I don't know if you have it or not, but I put in a LED light underneath my single grill for the brake light. Because I think much like people don't understand hand signals, if they don't see the third brake light, like it doesn't register them to stop. And the little itty bitty candlelight powered tail lights that you have or brake lights that you have on the side are not very bright, and they're also very low.
Well, I can make a recommendation on that because on my 60 Roadster, I just did all LED lights.
Vintage Traders?
Vintage Traders.
I did the same kit.
And the neat thing is, and what my concern is, I think Porsche was the only manufacturer ever had in Europe yellow brake lights. And I'm sure nobody here has any idea what that is. So I bought the LEDs for that for 2 reasons. Number one, the brake lights and all those tail lights are all red. Mm-hmm. So it lights up red through your yellow
Oh, it does.
lens. Oh, definitely.
Oh, okay.
And the second thing is I've got the fog lights, but when you take a look at the amount of draw on your generator, with the fog lights and your headlights, and especially, I was actually blowing fuses from time to time because it was too much running through it. And those LEDs really reduce the amount of draw.
Yeah.
So, and it all works great. So
I highly recommend. I got the same kit. I actually bought U.S. lenses just to be all red. I didn't realize the red bulbs would shine through the
and I've looked at it when it almost you can't even tell they're yellow.
Oh, wow.
With the turn signal or the brake on.
Huh.
It's bright red coming through.
Right.
So that isn't impressive enough. All this with a 356.
Yeah.
He also club races.
What do you club race? What car?
The 67S.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, in vintage.
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful car. And how long have you had that?
Maybe 12 or 13 years.
And did you buy it as a race car?
Yes.
Or do you
Yes.
Yeah. Now, is that a car that belongs to me because it has my name on it? I can't tell. Is it a VU
Or, you know,
car?
means I think it means vintage unlimited.
It is a VU car. It is mine.
It's vintage under 2.4.
Oh, is it under? Oh.
It's under 2.4.
Oh.
So
Look, see, it has my name on it.
and so there's a rare occasion I'm in front of somebody. But anyway, no, the car really, it's a wonderful car. I've done quite a bit with it. The track where I actually use it the most is Sebring.
Wow.
And it's when we set it up, we actually raised the suspension a little bit and softened it. And people said, well, how is it Sebring? Well, Sebring, some of the turns, especially 17, is pretty bumpy.
Yeah.
But the car is very compliant. So, yeah, I mean, if you take the wrong line, do you get thrown around? Yes, you do, but it's controllable. So.
Mm-hmm. And had you only raced this car, or had you raced other cars?
No, just this one. Well, I had the GT3, which I did just DEs with that.
Okay. And do you you've stuck with this one? How does it differ racing a vintage car versus a more modern car?
Well, I never really raced a more modern car, so I can't answer that question. But at this age, I'm not about to learn something new. So I can do the math, 52 years in the club. So
I'm sure driving that and driving the Speedster is like in the back of your hand, right? Like you just know its personality and everything about it.
well, you know, they're all these cars have a personality of their own. When we get into the 904, because I know that was one of the questions, but you know, the difference between the 904, the Beck 904, and the Speedster. The Speedster does a lot of things extremely, extremely well. I think Manny's probably seen that at some of the autocrosses. And I think the one that was most comical to me because was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago down at the airport. And I decided to take the Speedster. And I pull up, and I guess the tech people and the registrar, I don't do much with, anymore, so they didn't even know who I was, which that's okay. So, but they did kind of look at the car, and they kind of chuckled a little bit, and they said, "You're really not going to run that, are you?" I said, "Well, that's why I'm here." And so there were, I think, about 65 Porsches there that day. They were mostly newer cars, and there were turbos and GT3s, et cetera. And so the way they had it set up, you had 5 runs, and on my last one, I tried something a little bit different. I actually did a downshift in the first, which I think I've only done that twice in 50 years.
Wow.
With that gearbox.
That's a commitment.
Well, it was a true double clutch, so that's the only way it's going to get in smoothly.
Yeah.
But I think it knocked several seconds off of this little goofy thing that had a box. And so I remember pulling in, they had a guy announcing, he says, "You won't believe this, but that car just broke 50 seconds." And there were only 8 or 9 cars that broke 50 seconds. So
Wow.
I came in 9th overall.
That's
Won my
incredible.
class by 4 seconds.
Wow.
And so if anybody knows autocrossing, you win by 4 seconds.
That's a lifetime.
That's a lifetime.
So, and that was some hopped up 912 with big flared fenders and all this stuff. And I thought, well, at least there's only 2 in the class. Worse, I'll do a second, but I did a little bit better than that. So,
So self-servingly, I'm going to ask this question because I've always admired the stance on your Speedster. The rear is, I mean, the car is low, but the rear is especially low. What's the suspension setup on the Speedster?
back, that car was raced through the late 50s and pretty much all through the 60s. And it won a 6-hour race. It won its class and won the performance index at Marlboro in 1965. Back in the day, I don't think they had rear sway bars and Z bars and a lot of things that, even as the 356s continued the race through the 70s and 80s and 90s, of course, Mazda didn't like it because their, Miatas were getting beat by 356s. So, according to some of the guys that used to race those, they literally stopped because they were trying to, nobody wanted a 50-year-old sports car beating something new.
Right.
And so, but they did develop a lot of things for suspension and stiffening, etc. But that car has really nothing in the rear other than the shocks and your normal torsion bars.
Is that right?
And the way they got it, I guess the way that one was set up, that particular car, they just lowered it as much as they could. You reduce all your center of gravity. In fact, the front end still has the stock spindles. That's why the front end sits a little higher. That's as low as it'll go.
That's as low as it'll go.
But the back will go a little bit lower. And but the cornering characteristics, you know, when you're pushing it really hard, that back end stays relatively flat. It doesn't roll a whole lot. You'll get a little bit more lift in the front, obviously because of the weight.
Right.
But no, but that's the way to set them up back then.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much left the car really the way it was raced back in the 60s. Yeah.
In period, right. Nice.
And it's still is obviously competitive.
Is that the one you bought the lightweight wheels?
Yes.
You were just telling us.
Yeah, the alloy
human
wheels.
feel, yeah.
Yeah.
The GT wheels, I guess they would call them now.
Yeah.
With the what was the center? Center was the lightweight part, right?
No, the center is steel.
Steel, okay.
And then the rims are a lightweight alloy.
Okay.
And I think they weigh about 9 pounds apiece. So they're very, very light.
Which was a two-piece rim, which wasn't super common back then.
Well, all of your 356 rims, steel rims, were really two-piece. And they would weld the centers to
The barrel.
To the rim itself.
Yeah.
Because these are dissimilar metals, they actually use rivets because you couldn't
That's
weld
what it
the
was.
two.
Yeah, that's what was
So
not
I
common.
think there's 19 rivets holding that center piece up. And obviously it took some special, aligning and machining and really precision to get those rivets in correctly so that, you've got a wheel that's going to, turn true. And they do. My concern about them was leaking because I've got tubeless tires. So what I did was and where I bought them, they had some too, but they had like a sealant that they put all over those, which I even added more just to make sure that they would hold air and keep it.
Oh. All right. So is it okay if we would go through sort of your fleet that you currently have? So we know you still have the Speedster. We know you have the race car. What else is in the garage?
I've got the 60 Roadster.
60 Roadster. I don't think I've seen that car before.
Green is Fajar green with gray interior.
Ooh, I gotta see that
Didn't
one.
you do an ST in that color? Didn't we just?
Fjord green, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and that one, I can, the cars I mentioned, I dismantled. I used the engine and brakes off of the SC. So I converted that to disc brakes and 12 volt. That's the one I put the LED lights in.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I've got a 63 electric sunroof coupe with just turned 30,000 miles. It's all original.
Color?
It's signal red, black interior.
That's a Shapsol car.
That's a Shapsol car.
Is that a PCA member from back in the day?
Yes, and I remember when that car went for sale, Bob Gutjahr said, "You got to buy this car. It's all original, so and so." And I'm like, "Bob, I just bought a 964 3 months ago." And Roxanne would kill me if I told her I want to buy another car similarly priced.
Yeah.
Wish I did, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I bought it, because I guess you were talking to Steve at the same time, and it was probably almost double over what you could have bought a B coupe for back in the day. But I knew it was an all original car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sunroof.
Electric sunroof.
Yep.
And I've talked to Don Fowler, who was a big restorer back in the 70s and 80s, and Don still has some very interesting cars. And the original owner backed into something, so Steve took it to Don to do the metal work on the rear, which was between the taillights. And Don did that and repainted it. That was 40 years, and that has held up amazingly well.
Wow.
But I've talked to Don because I've seen some other original cars, and this one you can see a lot of the handwork. So you can see where they leaded it. You can see where they filed it from panel to panel because it goes right across the door to the fender, etc. And after that metal work or the handwork has been obvious since I've owned the car, which is 30 years. So what I've been told is that the paint over time will shrink and do things, and you've got different metals or materials.
Right.
And so you can actually see the handwork in that car all around, the rain gutters, any place there's lead, you'll probably see some file marks. So I asked Don about that, and he said, well, I never understood that because it's more evident in that car than most. I mean, it's what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe it was a new guy. Maybe it was a guy on a Monday morning and coming off of a tough weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all done by hand. So, if the guy wasn't on his best day, maybe
right.
it wasn't his best work.
The consistency between cars was not like today.
No.
And in fact, seeing that is almost, I wouldn't say proof, but, it's hard to recreate that after you're trying to restore a car. Like, how do you do the brush marks and the roughness? And you can't.
You can't reproduce that.
Cars today that are restored are sometimes too perfect.
They are, and I still put the car in shows. And generally, where it'll do well is when, and let's say if it's a People's Choice, and all of a sudden people realize that the one sitting next to it just got finished 3 months ago, and this one got finished 60 years ago. So but it shows amazingly well. And really, what the car probably belongs in is in a museum, or somebody who wants to show it in preservation classes and in high level events such as,
Well, it's in pretty good hands right now.
Yeah, but I just do local little small stuff, and so.
All right, is that all of them, or is there more?
No, I've got
My hero.
just I'll blow through them.
Okay.
The 67, I've got two 69s. I've got a T and an S. Had the S about 45 years. The T I've had probably about 15 or 20. And everybody looks at the new 911 STs in 2024. Well, I took that T and kind of made it into an ST. So we rebuilt the engine almost to S specs, put some stiffer rear torsion bars in it, so it's still a lightweight car with maybe about 150 horsepower, which is, what the original intent of the ST was.
Yeah.
So have that, and then the 904, and I've got a 993 that I bought new, and that's down in Florida, and that's my daily driver down there.
That's all, folks. Promise me you'll let us come by, and I'd love to see all of them in one. Are they all in one place?
No, but
there's a couple in Florida.
There's a couple in Florida, but yeah, most of them are up at the farm.
What the Sue drive?
Volvo.
Of course. Makes sense.
And because of the 90-plus degree temperature, I drove my GMC diesel truck down here.
Smart man. It is toasty outside. Yeah. Well, before you mentioned the 904, and that's what we're primarily here to talk about. Before we get into that, I want to introduce and mention our new corporate sponsor, and that's Auto Atlanta. And if you're chasing down Porsche parts for maybe some of the cars that he just listed, or maybe you're restoring a 944 Turbo, hunting for trim for your 914 or 356 or a fuel distributor, either way, Auto Atlanta has you covered. They've been taking care of Porsches since 1978. Not only do they have Porsche parts, but they ship internationally. They offer tech advice as well. No matter where you're in the world, they're happy to take care of you. You can check them out at autoatlanta.com. They also have a team of Porsche specialists that you can ask mechanical questions, repairs from full restorations to regular servicing and even detailing your car. They also buy and sell pre-owned vehicles. I know you probably don't have any for sale. I'm sure they would love to buy some of your cars there, Chip. But they have cars there for you to check out as well. Again, they buy and sell Porsches. Whether you're rebuilding a classic or just need a single clip to finish a project, Auto Atlanta has you covered. Again, head over to autoatlanta.com. You also get a 5% discount if you use the code PCA, the number 5, OFF. Again, autoatlanta.com. Auto Atlanta, thank you guys for being a corporate sponsor of PCA Insider. Much appreciated. And again, the folks there, they've been into Porsche parts, Porsche people, Porsche passion since 1978.
I really hope Ilko gets us a Viagra or Cialis sponsor just to see you read that every week.
And be as enthusiastic. Bring it on.
I try it myself.
Ilko, bring it on. I'll be just as enthusiastic. All right, let's get into the 904. So 350, we mentioned your 356, and of course I asked the question, how many times do you get asked, is it a replica? And because people, the value of that car is just, people don't imagine that you're going to take a real one, especially sometimes you take it out on not the nicest days too, and you enjoy it, which is great, but you get that question. The 904, I feel like it's an even level higher because you really, some people will never ever see a 904 because they're so rare. So it's got to mean that's a replica, but that's not necessarily a negative thing. And the reason why I say that is because I was on the path to getting a vintage Speedster because that was the range of dollars I was able to afford. And I gotta say, like, you get the looks, sometimes you get better engineering, but then you get to enjoy the car because some of these cars, like a 904, is so incredibly valuable that I don't know that you could actually enjoy it. So what made you decide on choosing a 904 replica?
Well, I guess it goes back a long ways, but I remember, in my 52 years, I've looked at every Pano that came out. And back in the 70s, occasionally, there'd be an article about a 904. And I just said to myself, that's got to be the prettiest car that they ever made for the road. So, in the back of my mind, it was always something, you'd see them and you see advertisements and the prices were just going nuts. So I was down at Sebring actually for the 12-hour race and just spectating, and I was there for a practice day. And so I'm walking along and I see 5 or 6 904s sitting there right next to each other. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I walk over and I met Chuck Beck, and he had 5 or 6 of them there on display. I don't know whether they were participating in anything that weekend. He may have been because he's good at that.
Yeah.
And so I started talking to him a little bit. But like I said, this is probably 12 to 15 years ago. So then I put it in the back of my mind, it'd be kind of an interesting thing to do. And, I do a lot of my own work, including rebuilding some of my engines just for street, especially for the 356s. And I've done a couple 911 engines, but as it turned out, I had an extra drivetrain there. And, so the car was finished in May of 2020, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was somewhere maybe about 4 years earlier before that, I started talking to Beck. I talked to a couple other companies, or one other company in particular. And I liked the way Carrie and Randy and Chuck, communicate. And you start talking to them, and they back then, maybe right now it's 4+ years to have one built, so they've got quite a backlog and they're awfully busy. But back then, they were just incredibly good to work with, and go through the ordering process, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I had a spare 3-liter with 46 millimeter Webers, which was in my 69S for a while when I autocrossed that quite a bit. So I pulled that engine to rebuild the 2-liter, which I did, put that back in. So that allowed, and then I had a couple gearboxes sitting there. So I ended up deciding to, build and use the 3-liter with, it was a 911 gearbox, converted for a 914. And, the gearing on that was pretty good, and had a ZF limited slip in it. But then we took that apart and, re-geared it. But, so really that's how it evolved into starting the project.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to meet Mr. Beck and their family, and just the nicest, down-to-earth people and true enthusiasts. And what I love about the process, as you mentioned, was you can go A to Z with them and choose exactly how you want the car. And they don't prescribe it has to be this or it has to be that. It's like, it's what you want. Like if you want to put a modern 3.2, or if you want to do a 2.7, or if you want to do something crazier, they're willing to do that.
And most of the builds are with 3.2s and 3.6s. Mm-hmm. I was trying to, my thought and I don't call it a replica, I call it a recreation. Because really what it is, it's a totally built car by Beck. Interestingly enough, it is titled because when I delivered the engine transmission, they assembled the car, they road tested it, called me, and they said it's all done, contact your shipper, etc. And when I received it, there was a packet in there and it has a certificate of origin. So it stated that it was a 1964 Beck Porsche 904.
Oh.
So the car is titled as a 1964 Beck Porsche.
Beck Porsche or Beck?
Beck Porsche.
Really?
Interesting.
So,
Huh.
well, obviously all the ones we're doing have six-cylinder Porsche drivetrains. I don't know if I'm doing anything else. And they actually have a little owners group, and there's about 30 of us in it. And all those are anywhere from 2 2s to 3 6s.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought was I wanted a 901 gearbox. I bought some 904 switches from Ab Tiedemann. I had an old mirror that was period correct. Try to do things that, when people see it at a show, a Cars and Coffee, they're walking up and they see these big Webers on it, and they're thinking, maybe this thing's real.
Right.
And but if you open up that clamshell and it's got modern day fuel injection, which is obviously probably better.
Yeah.
But
More
to me,
usable.
it just didn't look right.
Right.
So I was trying to do something, and everybody has their own thought as to how they want to do it. And a car weighs 1,700 pounds. I felt if we have 210, 220 horsepower, that's going to be a lot. And I will say that the car was probably every bit as quick as my 996 GT3, just because of the weight.
Did you drive one before you started the build process?
No.
You just believed?
I believed,
Yeah.
and I think the only thing that I would say, and I'm just a little bit over 6 foot, but if you're thinking about building one and you're over 6 foot or my height, you may want to sit in one first and see what you think.
There's a funny story that Manny will probably share. We had the opportunity to be amongst a 904, and I'll let you tell the story.
This is a perfect time for Damon to pull up the comparison of the original 904 and the Beck 904. And you rarely see them really together. Rarely see a Beck 904 or a 904, but see them together. I've never seen them together. But the Beck is slightly larger, and there's a probably good reason for this. What we was referring to, we did a video of a collection in Arizona, and the owner asked Bogdan if he wanted to sit in a 904. This is a real 904. And Bogdan is probably the most flexible out of all of us.
And he's petite.
25 years old, and he could not figure out how to get in this because he couldn't touch certain parts of the car because it's fragile, it's this lightweight fiberglass, and he kept on trying to position, and you could just see the owner's face, the anxiety as Bogdan was getting into the car, but he was starting to pull on things to get in there. Finally, owner's like, it's not going to work. Just get out of the car.
This is one of those times where I should have been there because I would have been able to sit in there.
You definitely would have gotten it.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone who's gotten into a race car knows how to squeeze into a small space with
Climb over a roll bar, etc.
But anyways, I thought about that when I was writing up the questions for today's show that I said, well, I know it's a little bit bigger, but it's not that much bigger.
It's only about an inch or two.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a slight difference, and there's a chart they have on his website showing where the dimensions change just a little. But to your point, when people whenever they see his car at Cars and Coffee, their first words are, "I never thought I'd see one of these in person. I've never seen one in person," and I'm like, oh.
And then Manny
Do I
goes,
tell him that it's not
Manny's favorite phrase, and you still haven't.
but it's it is to me the Beck 904 or any 904 replica or 550 is different than a Speedster for some reason. Maybe it's a personal thing because I guess the 356 is still somewhat affordable. Not the Speedster anymore, but you can get a 356 and. But a 904 and a 550 are just they're out of this world now. There's no way.
Well, it's kind of like a Cobra, right?
And you're not going to drive it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have anxiety enough driving my 914 because, of, like you said, somebody rear-ending you. I can't imagine driving a real 904. That's just got to be other world as far as worrying about what somebody's going to hit you. So this is a pretty good alternative. And then you can also modify them to where they're a little bit more livable.
Yeah. So speaking of the 550, was that ever part of a consideration?
No, not really.
You don't have a.
There was one I looked at that was for sale, and it was we have a place down the beach, and there was a fellow there who was actually a Porsche guy, and he had one in his showroom, which had kind of got my attention. And considering where they've gone, I should have bought it because that was a great buy back then.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I didn't buy it is it had four bolt lug wheels. And I kept looking at it and thinking, okay, well, I can change the rear and put 356 brakes on the rear, but the front, you got to change everything,
Right.
to get a 5-bolt pattern. And I wanted to put 356 brakes on it, and I couldn't quite figure out how to do it, so I didn't buy it because I've got plenty of those.
Right.
Yeah, I never understand why people do that.
Some people don't know the details enough that it doesn't bother them.
Well, you were talking about getting in and out, so I don't know whether you've noticed on mine up at Cars and Coffee, but I did put a quick release steering wheel in. So I just take the whole steering wheel off. That makes
a huge difference.
And the other thing is when I took delivery, I was 70, and I said, I want to be able to still get in this car at 75, which now I'm almost 1 year past that, and I can still get in and out. But something else I did was I had an old set of Simpson racing shoes. So, I had those, they were worn out, but I had soles put on which were very thin. And the difference between a racing boot, which is pretty tight fitting your foot, and let's say wearing a sneaker, there's a lot less room on the racing shoe, which that makes a difference in getting in and out of the car.
Oh.
So like if you saw, the driving shoes, people, things with very little sole on them, that's really what you need, because that gives you an extra half inch, which is
to pass the point, right?
Which is a big deal.
Is the seat adjustable or is it fixed?
Yeah, it is, but it only moves about an inch. And the problem with it is, it's all the way back, which is where I have to have it. And I would highly recommend if somebody was looking to buy one, regardless of your height. But Carrie was actually offering to come out and have them fit it to you, so you can have the seat placed and have it bolted right to the floor. People have asked me if I've tracked mine. I can't track it because I can't get a helmet on. I'd have to take there's not enough room. But if I put the seat on the floor, which I'm going to do that, just take the sliders off and drop it down, bolt it directly to the floor.
Give you more headroom?
It might give me enough.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I'm not really sure I'm even going to. Well, I'm going to take the seat. I am going to do that to the seat, but I'm not sure I'm going to even track it. So
one of the big differences between the Beck and the the original 904 was the original 904 was glued to the frame. I would imagine they don't do this with the Beck.
That's a good question. I thought it was.
Oh, really?
It was bonded.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't see any bolts holding you've got the tube chassis and you've got a piece of sheet aluminum for floor.
Yeah, it looks like it says frame bonded at the top there on the screen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, that isn't a difference. That's a similarity. That's I wouldn't think that was a pretty big deal when Porsche did that.
Well, there's a significant difference in the suspension, the way the suspension was laid out on the original car versus what Beck does. And I've actually talked to one 904 owner who is a pretty serious driver. And this was as my car was being built, so this conversation goes back 6, 7 years ago. And he said, you're going to have a better car than the original with the way the suspension is set up.
Yeah,
I believe it, yeah, sure.
And from the looks of it, you have, modern sized tires, or at least tire widths for stability.
Well, that was one thing I talked to him about, because I really initially didn't care for the little bit of flaring they do. And I talked, is there a way of, eliminating that? But apparently the way all of your lower moldings and everything or panels come together, that cannot eliminate the flares. So one of the options on my car were the reproduction wheels, which look like the original steel slotted wheels, or steel and alloy, whatever 904 was using at the time. And we opted to have them made, because I've got quite a few sets of Fuchs, that 7s and 8s and 15s, and they will fit, because I did try them to see if they'd work. But I just like the look of the steel wheel. But we went to 17s. And just to give you an idea of the flaring on the car, there are 8s in the front and 10s in the rear.
Wow.
So there's a lot of rubber.
Yeah.
And I will say that now that I have it, and after I first drove it, I'm thinking that car would be diabolical if it was on 6-inch rims with skinny tires.
Yeah.
So when you start getting over 200 horsepower and 1,700 pounds, you better have some rubber under it. And it really didn't sacrifice ride. And it gives you so many more options. So most of them that I think are built where they're opting for those wheels that are made by Boyd Coddington, the old hot rodder.
Yeah.
He's deceased, but his son's making those wheels for Beck. And I just thought it just looked so much better with those what appeared to be correct wheels on it versus Fuchs.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think it's like a modern interpretation and gives you the ability to have modern tire sizes, but it looks great.
And if you look closely, I think I was the only one that did this. I said I want longer studs. Well, they put really long studs.
Yeah.
I don't need them that long.
Yeah.
So I'll probably cut some of that off. But in the event I put 7s and 8s on it, I may have to space them out a little bit.
Yeah.
And that gave me room to space.
So when you decided to buy it, I guess you tell them what color you want. What about interior?
Same thing. And so I think most of them, I tried to do mine with the cloth interior. Most of them were built that way back from the factory. So everything I did in there was pretty much as the factory would have done it. The dash, there's 3 different options for that. It can be painted. You could put leather or another material, or I think at some point, because there was originally a lot of glare coming off of that dash, so they put this. It's almost like a felt type of dash on it, which eliminates any glare.
Wow. Now, does that car? I see some vents. Does it actually have venting and heat?
Yeah, that's a little bit of fresh air, and there is one vent between the seats coming through the firewall behind you, which is the only heat.
Yeah.
And there's one heater box on one side, and they've got a channel that comes up, and there's one fan. One of those switches is a fan for the ventilation system. Something else I did look at was the electric air conditioning. And and because mine was one of the earlier builds, they were going to put electric air conditioning on. I said, well, considering what the price of the air conditioning is, let me know how it works in the one. And that person opted out.
Oh, really?
So, but you and that would come through those vents because the air conditioner would be put up in the front.
And do you have real windows or do you have sliding windows?
Sliding windows, and there's little cups that open up that will
direct the air in?
Direct air,
Yeah.
and you can point that right at your face to try to cool a little bit.
I guess the original probably didn't have that.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah. So I think just about all of them were sliding windows. The other one that they may have had the pull up, with a strap. Such as what they used in the 911Rs. So there may have been a couple of ways of doing it from the factory, but I think most of them were those sliding. It's kind of hard to tell from that picture.
I noticed that the windshield wipers looked like a 911 windshield wipers, where the 904 had the single.
That's the only option that I kind of messed up.
Oh, they did have an option.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I didn't think of it because I would have ordered it. But I did talk to Carrie about it, and it is possible for me to switch that. Now, I'd have one extra hole that I'd have to plug to put the single wiper on. It's not that hard of a car to work. There's not a whole lot to it, but you would have to take the gas tank out to get to the, underneath the front dash to change the wiper motors.
Is there anything else that, if you had the opportunity to build it again, that you would do differently?
Probably not. Only other thing I might consider would have been the smaller, because they had 3 tails for those. They had a flat tail, which is what mine has. That's the big ducktail. If you're going to race it, you need that. And then they've got a little one, which maybe it's a little lip type spool, or maybe an inch and a half. What they told me was if I was going to track it with the flat rear deck, the car would be unstable under hard braking, anything over 130 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
And that car would certainly be capable over 130 miles an hour at most tracks because of the weight and power.
Yeah. And how long did it take from the time that you committed to doing it and started sending your engine and transmission? How long did it take before it was
It
complete?
was about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Ooh.
They're right now. My understanding is they're probably closer to 4. They've got quite
Wow,
a
4 years.
backlog. Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's all handmade. Right. Probably,
And they've got, I visited the shop because I delivered the engine and transmission to them, and their little facility there. I guess if you walked in there, it's probably maybe what Porsche looked like in 1950.
wow.
So I mean, it's kind of a neat place.
Do I understand that Chuck Beck was the one who did the original Shogun?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The Ford Fiesta Shogun that Jay Leno has one of those. He's the original. He's the
one
guy
who made that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I follow their family on Facebook, and he's working on or maybe it's done now, a 356 coupe for himself. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it now, but
Yeah.
I heard that they were
Yeah.
looking at doing that.
So you could get a 356 coupe body chassis like you can the 904. Yeah.
I'd rather have 904.
Oh, of course.
Well, but I tell you what he'd probably do with the coupe is there's somebody down in Atlanta also building A coupes, which they're quite nice. Subaru drivetrains, they're 180, 200 horsepower, and something that probably weighs 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
But air conditioning, a lot of modern conveniences,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about where you take it.
So you didn't have any problem, obviously, getting this license, everything in Maryland?
No, it came with the certificate of origin, which declared it as being a 1964 Beck Porsche. Didn't have to take it to DMV for any inspection. So because it's a manufactured car, I'm sure if they would have sent me the roller, and without that certificate, they would probably had some certificate, but roller only. That may require. And really, when you go through the process, it was funny. I talked to Kerry after the car was finished. He says, "Yeah, we're going to road test it." And he called me Monday, and he says, "Yeah, we took it out. And if you've ever been there, that's the middle of farmland up in Indiana." And it was funny. Yeah, we had it up to about 95, 100 or something. God, what roads were they driving to 100 miles an hour? Of course, I guess the only thing they're going to hit it might be a cow or two.
How different is the driving experience between the 904 and your Speedster?
Oh, it's entirely different. I mean, you have a car that's got over double the power and about the same weight. And it's suspension-wise, I mean, it's almost feels like you are driving a race car on the street.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's flat. The car handles so well, you really have to use good judgment where you're going to play with it. So, one of my favorite places, I've got some nice twisties that go north of me, but then there's some hike and bike trails. And, when you go through there, obviously, I mean, I could probably, if it's a 25 mile an hour turn, be doing at least double that. But, if there's somebody, getting the bike out of the car, you've got a problem. So you really, I mean, it has so much ability and potential for what it can do. I mean, it's almost like, a new GT3, where can you use that on the street? You really can't.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing with this car.
Well,
Are the headlights usable at night?
when was the last time you drove it at
I'm trying
night?
to think I've driven it.
Have you driven it at night? Yeah.
I mean, because they look cool as anything.
Yeah.
I just was wondering if they actually...
I don't think they use
Lit up
anything
anything.
really special in there, but if you wanted to, I mean, they're just a standard size, so you could go to, some sort of halogen or something with LED. or
LEDs to
whatever.
make them brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that most people with the Speedster and your 356s, I think they're kind of instantly recognizable. Does the 904, is it more exotic and people not necessarily know that it's a Porsche?
Well, when they leave Beck's location, their factory, they can't have anything with Porsche on it.
Right.
So if you notice, they use Wellwood brakes, and but on those they have them made where, as opposed to saying Wellwood, they say GTS. So kind of a nice little touch. but they couldn't be using like the big red calipers from a turbo or something,
right?
Because that would have Porsche on it, and anything that has Porsche on it.
No branding, no Porsche branding
right,
at all.
Right.
And so the owners then, once they take delivery, they can choose to swap things out.
Well, it came to me with the GTS emblem on the back, but there was no Carrera emblem. And if you notice, mine now has it.
Yeah.
And I had to put that on. And when Porsche built those, they did not use the ceramic little Porsche emblems for hood or rear deck or whatever. So they used the decals, which is what I put on mine.
Okay.
And the other thing, which was kind of an interesting option, was the FIA door in the back. So there's a little panel between the taillights that drops down. That theoretically, that's where you put your luggage. And I'm trying to think, it's going to be sitting right on top of the gearbox, because
something that you can be pretty warm.
Yeah.
I don't think that even the original one, it said Porsche anywhere in the car except for the crest. It didn't have it on the back deck lid or
the originals.
Yeah,
they actually used on some of them I've seen. They use the same letters you'd have like from the short and long wheelbase cars, individual letters across the back.
Okay.
Up on the top part of the tail. Not.
but I read where I think it was the 908 when Porsche first started putting their script on the car. It was because somebody, when the first race that debuted at, someone told maybe Helmut Bott, they said, that's the most beautiful Alpha I've ever seen.
Oh no!
And he got so mad, and he told the art department to do something so they would know it's a Porsche. So they made the iconic Porsche script on the side of the car, because it didn't say Porsche anywhere on it, but they figured people would know it's a Porsche. And because it was a 908 and it was fairly new, they didn't know that it was a Porsche.
Well, mentioning that, I was at Cars and Coffee one morning, and there was a Ferrari Dino, probably from the late 60s, early 70s, sitting there. So I pulled in next to him and parked, and I took pictures of both cars. So you could see how Ferrari actually copied a lot of design from the 904 for the Ferrari Dino, the 246.
Yeah.
Or 206 and 246.
I remember reading where Butzi Porsche, who designed the 904, said it was his favorite design because he had no committee. It was They gave him like a very short timetable to design this car, so he went by himself and designed the car and had no one second guessing him or anything.
How many original 904s were produced?
106, I believe.
Say a little over 100.
Really?
106. Most of them were the 4-cam cars, because they didn't. The 6-cylinder wasn't ready.
Wow.
And maybe the last, don't hold me to this, but I think maybe the last 20 or 25 probably had the 2-liter 6 to use.
Or a lot of them changed over to the 2-liter. But that's when the 911 was coming out. So they had because the 904 uses essentially a 901 transmission instead of the 356 transmission.
So you own quite a few icons now. Is there anything else that you're chasing?
No.
No?
No.
No way. Should I send this to the missus and have you sign
please.
it? We're done. No more new cars.
I'll always, follow different things. I mean, there's some interesting cars coming across P-Car Market. And bring a trailer, so you're always looking at it and saying. But we were, one thing I'm kind of looking at, and this is kind of completely opposite, but would be a World War II Jeep.
Oh.
We were in Normandy back,
Okay.
and the tour we were on, which was, we were very fortunate, Navy SEAL Museum took us. And the gentleman who was conducting the tour, he had 6 or 7 of these old World War II Jeeps. So here you get into something with 60 horsepower, and it's, top speed 62 miles an hour. It doesn't have a tach in it, but on the dash it will say first gear is good to 21 miles an hour, and second's 42 miles an hour, third is 62 miles, and that's it.
That's it.
I'm not sure you want to be in it at 60 miles an hour. It's wobbling around pretty good.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to remind folks to be sure to head over to PCA.org to sign up for PCA's newsletters, performance news, e-brake news, Mark Fresh news, all free. I want to remind folks we have a few events coming up. We have Works Reunion Monterey August 15th. By the time that you listen to this, I believe all of our registration will be closed, but you can certainly find yourself a parking spot in the parking area for those that are just looking to attend. Treffin at Sea 2025, our 70th anniversary cruise, August 30th to September 6th. So we're going to have a great time at sea, leaving out of New York. And if you can join us there, that would be great. And for those of you that want to race with some fellow PCAers online, check out PCASimRacing.com. And those of you looking for a PCA Insider swag, head over to the PCA web store. We've got bottles, mugs, and t-shirts. And if you're looking for a PCA Insider decal, just send us your address information to podcast@pca.org. Manny, anything else before we wrap this up?
Nope, I think I want a 904 now.
I know. Well,
but he said you're 6 foot. I'm like, that's not a problem for me. My problem is that I can pull the seat up so I can reach the steering wheel.
Well, I hope you'll allow us to come over and check out the collection in person.
Well, when you go to get it fitted, they will put the pedals where they belong.
There you go.
So that's
for people adjustments.
So that's how they do it.
It's like the perfect suit, right? You get it tailored to you.
That's what they'll do.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and consider sharing our show with fellow Porsche enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road. Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.